Most modern horror games are fucking terrible. That's why I compiled a list of 10 indie horror games that are actually scary. And before anyone says,
But this wasn't scary to me, or insert AAA game was way scarier.
my man, this video I will put a trigger warning on contains opinions. If you don't like that, that's perfectly fine. You're free to leave. The Children of Clay. Burger King Footlocker. The Children of Clay is one of those horror games that at first seems relatively unassuming. Yeah, it looks a little bit eerie, but how bad could it really be? I mean, it can't be scarier than whatever the fuck this is. Well, you're wrong, my friend. I'm not going to spoil the plot or premise or too much of the gameplay here. All I'm going to say is disturbing archaeology. The Children of Clay doesn't specialize in jump scares or making you feel like you have to shit your pants. Instead, it relies on terror, the build-up feeling to horror. There's a difference between terror and horror. Horror is the reaction you have when that jump scare finally hits, but terror is the unbearable build-up to it. That is what the Children of Clay specializes in. Terror without actually giving you horror. It makes you feel like absolute shit in the best way possible. Number 9. Demonologist. Okay, I can already hear the comments coming.
What about phasmophobia?
First of all, phasmophobia is relatively popular nowadays. When it first came out, granted it wasn't, but nowadays every second person has at least heard of phasmophobia. I feel like a large amount of people have not heard of Demonologist. Secondly, objectively, horror-wise, Demonologist is scarier. That doesn't necessarily mean it is a better game, but it is scarier, and that's what we're focusing on today. So, Demonologist. I'd label Demonologist as a slightly more realistic and pants-shittingly terrifying phasmophobia that gets repetitive after some time. That's the main complaint with Demonologist, is that the jump scares and the events are way too damn predictable. However, the first few times you experience them, they are 50 times scarier than in Phasmophobia. I mean, tell me this doesn't look scarier than this. I'm waiting. It makes me want to call my mummy and tell her to take me home. Speaking of home, Home Sweet Home. Home Sweet Home is more like a story horror game done right. You play as Tim, who has to find his fucked up missing wife, and you encounter a lot of fucked up shit. Home Sweet Home is based off many different urban legends, specifically Thai ones, that involve different spiritual and, well, often described as malicious beings. I'm not going to spoil the plot, but there's an equal amount of tragedy, what the fuckness, and also a hint of religion here and there. Home Sweet Home, in my opinion, is one of the best recent horror games that has ever come out. If you want to see me do a Let's Play, comment it below, and I will do a video or two about Home Sweet Home specifically. Letters of Bernard Thorne. Alright, this is a very recent game, as in just came out a month and a half ago. Letters of Bernard Thorne is a psychological horror game, essentially, and again, I'm not going to spoil the plot because that would just ruin the entire game, and that's how fucking good this game is. But I will say trauma, fucked up past, and sins, and a bit of an edgy old man. We all like an edgy old man, okay? Anyway, Letters of Bernard Thorne is one of the better, newer horror games, and I do recommend trying it out. It doesn't rely on flashy graphics or flashy jump scares to get you, it more relies on your psyche. And if there's something I love, it's a strong dosage of psychological warfare injected directly into my anus. Fatal Frame. All of the games. Okay, so Fatal Frame isn't exactly known for being huge jump scary and making you shit your pants. However, Fatal Frame's horror is way more subtle and way more circumstantial, heavily relying on the environment and the sound design. In Fatal Frame, you're a little girl who goes into a haunted mansion and wards off ghosts by taking pictures of them with an antique camera. That's all I'm gonna say. But the premise sounds way more simpler than it actually is. Trust me, there's a fuck ton of lore to this game. You'll find most of it throughout little hints and clues, and once shit starts coming together in your mind, that's when you begin to think. Fatal Frame doesn't have to rely on jump scares as much as it has to rely on your own mind, on the environment you're placed into what your mind can concoct with the little pieces of evidence that it has. The Mortary Assistant. Now, I just replayed the Mortary Assistant again a few days ago, and my opinion of it has slightly changed. I would say it went from a 9.5 horror game to an 8.8. Let's put it there, okay? 8.8, 8.9, almost a 9. The Mortary Assistant is about a, well, young mortician's assistant banishing demons from bodies. That's pretty much the entire premise. Now, there is some lore here and there, and it's only developed by one guy, and for, credits to him, because this game is really fun. However, similar to Demonologist earlier, it is considered highly repetitive. The Mortary Assistant gets boring after about, your 8th body or so. You're like, okay, I know how to do this now, and honestly, the only reason I kept on playing is because I wanted the completionists, right? I wanted to get all the achievements. However, this game technically is still not done. There are more endings, more lore, and more different bodies coming in, so theoretically it could get 10 times better. We don't know as of yet. However, what makes the Mortary Assistant so damn terrifying? The jump scares are not thrown at you at random. They are strategically placed, and sometimes you will even completely miss them. The jump scares are not meant to immediately get to you. They're waiting for you to get to them. They're luring you into a precarious situation, and then they will snap. These are jump scares done right, and if you get a little too pissed off with the amount of jump scares, you can just turn the intensity down, and then the horror will be much more subtle. So it's kind of a game where you can customize how scary it gets. The next game, From the Darkness, is already horrifying once you find out that it takes place in an old Soviet apartment. All jokes aside, From the Darkness is, again, much of a psychological horror game. It doesn't throw things at you, it expects you to come to it. And it does this phenomenally. From the Darkness has amazing graphics, amazing sound design, and atmospheric vibes. From the Darkness is not going to throw things at you like some AAA horror games do all the time. You are expected to find the horror itself. And once you do, you are going to try to do a back trail right back to your room and hide behind the curtains. Trust me, it will not work. They will find you. Number 2. The Blair Witch. If any of y'all are horror movie buffs, which I'm going to guess you are if you like horror games, chances are you like horror movies, you've likely seen the Blair Witch Project. That's what this game is based on. Again, am not going to spoil the plot, but this game is pan-shittingly terrifying. It embodies the movie perfectly whilst putting you in the position of the original protagonist. Yes, singular. You heard that right. You only have you and your dog. Good luck with that. This game is one of those games that if you put on a VR headset and sustained pain within the game, your brain would kick into the placebo effect and make you think that your dick was actually chopped off. The graphics are realistic, the ambience is haunting, and overall, the story within it, to me, is an 8.5 out of 10. It's scary and definitely worth a play. Number 2. Infliction. If you want to feel like Sherlock Holmes to solve your own familial problems, play Infliction. It's a pretty solid game, but do beware of some bugs and glitches. When you first try out Infliction, do not be thrown off by some graphical bug. But every game has its glitches, and these are ignore-worthy. Trust me. Continue playing. Trust me, it is absolutely worth it. Infliction, like for example a minute ago, Visage, is amazing at setting up terror and atmospheric horror. I'm not going to spoil the plot again, but I will say it does have supernatural elements and a lot of harrowing backgrounds revolving around a once seemingly happy family. Infliction has a lot of gore, so I will warn you about that, and excessively dark themes towards familial settings, so play at your own risk. And finally, number 1. Maybe you didn't expect this, but it's Visage. Visage is one of the best horror games that has come out in recent years, and I legitimately couldn't sleep for 2 nights. You always see people say, "Ooh, I couldn't sleep after this." I am being dead serious right now. Visage is one of those horror games that sticks with you. Not only does it make you feel a roundhouse of emotions and put you directly into the quote-unquote protagonist's shoes, but also it makes you feel guilt over things that your character has done. I'm just going to say that without spoiling the plot. Cue the mindfuckery. Here is where the real horror begins. Visage is so damn terrifying because of its environment and the terror it lets build up. It's not going to jump scare you and relieve you every 2 minutes. No. It is unpredictable, and to me, even after my 3rd playthrough, I didn't know what to expect. Even if the game didn't change. The game is still the same, but you don't know what to expect. It is so good at literally sucking you into this in first person that you start to feel like that you are the protagonist in the game. Anyway, that concludes my list, fellas. I can make a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 25 if you want. Just put it down in the comments below. Keep in mind, these were my opinions, and if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Anyway, have a good day, check me out on Twitch, Instagram, and TikTok, and stay a diva.